This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
For the time being, on a Tuesday following a Monday night football victory for the Minnesota Vikings, 27-24, the final last night at Soldier Field. And the Vikings now 6 in a row at Soldier Field, by the way. That used to be the boogeyman. Watch out for the turf, although the turf looked hideous. Weird things happening at Soldier Field. Well, weird things happening at Soldier Field from a quarterback debut standpoint. J.J. McCarthy, you heard the highlights there, moving on up from a disastrous first three quarters, including a pick six, to 3 touchdowns engineered by the young lad, J.J. McCarthy, with 2 through the air and 1 on the ground, finding our way to victory. Nordo, it is going to be with you here. I'm going to be in the seat until around 10-ish. PA finding his way to Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. We'll have some talkbacks, some takes, some drive-by interviews that he did in the locker room last night, and eventually 11 o'clock. We're going to get to hear from the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, a day after the victory. We'll hear the coach's reaction to what he saw from everything. But to kick things off, I appreciate him sticking around. Meatsauce, how you doing, Saucy? I saw you bouncing off the freaking walls. Maybe over-caffeinated, certainly overstimulated, but loving in the end the final result, certainly. I just wanted to have you in to chop it up and celebrate a bit with everything that happened last night, coming home with a victory. It was a beautiful thing, my man.
It was outstanding for multiple reasons. A, in the beginning, it looked like this is not good. Yeah. Like maybe we overplayed our hand, and of course, I have all the faith anyone else could have in the head coach KO, but I'm like, did they overplay their hand a bit? And that's what makes football great. It's an emotional roller coaster from the beginning to the end, right? That's what makes it awesome. And I'm going, and I like to post a lot on Twitter and kind of get people going, and that's kind of my bit.
You offer your own roller coaster.
Correct. And then when it swings the other way, I like to then jump right back on the bandwagon, right?
It's like you never left.
It's nonsense. But I thought for a little while, I'm like, the kid keeps checking out of plays, and I'm like, is he too afraid to like just go out there and sling it?
Yeah.
The interception sucked, right? That was a bad throw. But I'm telling you, the throw that got him going was when he hit Naylor on that out where they then kicked the long field goal.
End of the first half,
and you thought, he's got it. And then there was the throw that he made where it was just, it was on the first scoring drive where Jefferson just breaks off that route. He's going to the sideline, and whoever it is from the Bears is just coming down the barrel of the gun, and he stands in that pocket and throws it out to him, and you're going, all right, he's got something.
That was far hash to the to the other
and
boundary.
That was a lot of,
it was beautiful.
Our guy Thor has defended McCarthy all year, saying he doesn't have a strong arm. That's a great throw, right?
No, he's got an arm.
That's a throw Jordan Love throws 10 feet into the ground in front of him, right? But we won't talk about that. But there is a moment where you're going, all right, they got something here. And then he stands in that pocket. The offensive line is outstanding. Donovan Jackson blocks the end and then comes back and knocks the tackle into Jordan Mason, who makes a great block. He chucks it down the field, and you see every single one. I brought it up in the Power Trip about a half hour ago. Mina Kimes posted from a pocket angle of that touchdown. Every single one of those offensive linemen pumps their fists, right? They know they have a guy. They know how good of a guy and a good of a teammate he is, but he was out. It looked so bad. And then all of a sudden, it kind of clicked, that winning mentality that he's had. I mean, he went undefeated at Michigan, 14-0, and they beat Washington in the national championship game.
He doesn't lose a lot.
That's the last regular season game he played until last night. And it looked rusty until it didn't, and it was outstanding.
Yeah, and there's going to be some audio. Speaking of kind of the aura, driving in and listening to you guys talk about it. Hawk was here until he had to go, the trooper that he was, showing up at 5:30 with you gents this morning. But the aura and the vibe with this kid, this might be a real thing. This might be in terms of, and I have some audio we'll play back, an interview from last night with Aaron Jones. He mentioned it again, PA has some drive-by interviews. Kind of he's walking in there. This whole thing looks like it's going to be an L. He throws a pick six to the former scrub from the Vikings.
Which was a bad throw.
It was a bad throw.
We can't sugarcoat that. That was a bad throw.
But then he's standing out there, And he's like, is there any other place on the planet you guys would rather be? And just in him kind of acknowledging that moment. And frankly, probably acknowledging internally, like, yeah, I haven't offered much to the table.
Right. It's like me on the power trip. But, I just show up and they put my name on the group project, right?
Well, it works out for you.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But to that end, just the sea change. And I'm excited to dig into this because, you know, I have to admit, and in the second half, I was so focused, especially that dart that he threw to Justin Jefferson.
Outstanding.
And that throw, by the way, that was incomplete. Now, it was a missile.
Yeah.
But that incomplete pass to JJ, where one of the best in the league has to catch that every single time.
Had a little bit of smoke on it, though. That was sort of a tad too hard.
Hey, it's coming in hot.
You got to catch it.
Handle business, 18.
Yeah.
But he did handle business on that rocket over the middle for the first touchdown. But I'm excited to dig into this because I'm wondering, you know, first game, how much the head coach was managing McCarthy in those first few series that you saw. And then there was a timing situation. The kid just wasn't on time. Everything was, you know, just a half click late. And you could feel that in the lack of rhythm that they had. How much of it potentially was opening up? How much of it was, did Justin School find a pulse?
How about that?
Because that was some of the worst O-line play on a team that, well, frankly, as a fan, I've judged the O-line at a high level for a long time. And we begged for the interior upgrades. Justin School was a complete unmitigated disaster in the first half.
It got so bad, Nordo, that towards part of it, and you and I talked about it when we did the halftime bit on KFAN.com or wherever it was, YouTube and all that, is they you said maybe they handcuffed Josh Oliver to him. You know who they used? They used Donovan Jackson to help him out, a rookie guard. They need Christian Darrisaw back badly.
Yeah.
Because when you play a pass rush like that team to the East has, that's going to be an issue if you don't have Christian Darrisaw, right? You need him. But the way they all kind of came together and the defense pitched, gave up that kind of late touchdown that made it, the 27-24. But man, the defense, I think at one point, the defense had pitched 5 of 6 3-and-outs. And I think that the other one was a 5-and-out. They got a first down and then went 4 more plays and punted, right?
Yeah.
The defense, everybody kind of stepped up, whatever KOC said to them. But man, if you and I have done draft shows where we're like, hey, take Kyle Trask, take anybody, right? Take Kellen Mond, take anybody, trade up for Justin Fields. And they said no. We were pounding the table for Malik,
Malik Willis,
we were pounding the table for him.
Liberty.
Take the kid that now the Tennessee backup. Take him. No. And now I know it's one game, man, but you're like Christian Ponder would have never done that, right? I'm like. The skill set with J.J. McCarthy, because we've gone through a lot of them. I mean, you've seen that Bears or the Browns jersey that goes viral with all those quarterbacks. Vikings could do something similar with all of the quarterbacks you've had in here. But it's just the moxie to just get back up when you are knocked down, literally knocked down on that pick 6 where you get blown out by somebody. You fall down and go ass over tea kettle, and then to get back up on the road on Monday Night Football and have 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, 6 of 8. Outstanding.
No, it is outstanding. And, one thing I'm going to do is, because the tough thing is you can't ignore the 3 quarters that preceded the fourth.
It was not good.
But to that end, I was too excited last night, so I took fan line way too long. Ron's probably annoyed with me.
You were pumped.
Well, correct. We didn't leave here till like 1 a.m. Yeah. I'm more over the moon with what I saw, how different the fan line conversation was. Correct. I'm an adult child.
Yeah, same.
But I was listening to national radio, and it's this kid's debut. It's his second year, but effectively he's a rookie taking his first snaps. And this national radio guide, I don't remember the name, was basically, it's cool what he did in the fourth quarter, but what about the first 3? And there's just, if you're a Vikings fan, you were going to spin it to the positive, but there was nothing good about what happened tonight for the Vikings. That's effectively what the guy said. And I might do this maybe later today. Certainly tomorrow is potentially an option, but kind of looking at debuts, Josh Allen struggled. You can go head to head with some of the high end QBs that exist in the league, And you're going to have a hard time finding, outside of Mahomes, really, a guy that didn't have massive issues throughout his first season. I mean, until 2 years into his career, Josh Allen completely flipped that switch 100%. And became the MVP caliber guy that he is today. People were having questions in Buffalo about whether or not he could truly lead an offense. Look at that accuracy. His arm is completely loose and unhinged. Yeah. Well, then suddenly now nobody's ever talking about that with Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson had to figure out how to pass, and it's still not a perfect thing. He also, by the way, put 41 passing TDs on the board a year ago.
Right.
He still runs like the wind. Yeah. But the growth of these individuals has to have time to take place. We knew it wasn't perfect, but we did this all summer, Saucy. Just be patient. We know there's going to be some issues. We know there's going to be some ups and downs. My head went through a freaking spin cycle on that pick six. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? What's the humbling moment going to be like?
Right.
Is the head coach suddenly going to come up with, just some meetings taking place day after a game? I can't do the segment with PA the next morning. What's the humbling moment like? QB guru. I'm picturing texts and talkbacks. And then it flipped. It's unbelievable. In a moment, in a vacuum, this does not make a career, but for one night in debut, man, I mean, the turnaround, and you mentioned Moxie. I just think about, I mean, that kid came alive.
Yeah.
When he absolutely had to. It was beautiful.
Well, and you can tell, and I know, like, I've said this a lot on the power trip earlier this morning, but you just saw, like, how much his teammates love him. And the audio that Lieber and Hockey got about Aaron Jones being like, he gets into the huddle and it's the old, Hawk reference it, but it's the old Joe Montana in the Super Bowl where they're kind of down and he looks around and goes, is that John Candy in the first row? Meaning, like, it's not bothering him. Like, it doesn't, and I'm not comparing McCarthy to Joe Montana, but, like, I don't know, man. Like, like you said, if that continued the way that it went in the first couple of quarters, you're still doing fan line because everybody is saying, we said no to Aaron Rodgers for that. And it's, it's just sour taste. It's all hideous. But, they play 4 quarters for a reason, man. It was an outstanding victory.
It absolutely was. And you're outstanding for hanging out a bit longer. There's a lot of, I'm going to ask the listeners via text and via talkback here throughout the first hour. Again, PA, he's going to be joining us, really at any time, frankly, but right around 10, I believe, is when he's going to step into TCO and Egan. But, like, giving out game balls. Like, the coach gives out game balls.
Outstanding video. I sobbed.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
And it's awesome. And of course, the quarterback is going to get a game ball after what took place last night. But it's just, and it's the high after a victory and the breakdown to the buildup. But it's like, whether it's Jordan Mason, Hargrave, like, as good as he was in camp, and you picture it, it's like he's older, he's a game changer, but man, he was hurt last year, and how's he going to look? Hargrave was a killer last night. Looking for that internal pass rush. We got it, ladies and gentlemen. Eric Wilson stepping in the injury to Blake
Dallas
Cashman.
Turner played well, too.
Yeah, exactly. You want more Dallas Turner. You're watching moments last night where Van Ginkel's actually dropping back into pass coverage, and then you have Dallas Turner on the outside pass rushing. Things to clean up. Imperfect performances around, certainly. But, like, the game, how about 59 yards from the leg?
Right.
I mean, if you're handing out game balls, this is kind of, again, imperfect 3 quarters. It's malaise. We're saying things we'll regret potentially on social media.
Well, yeah.
Unless you're saucy, you never regret anything. You just roll with it and you just let her fly.
Yeah.
The malaise and all of that included, like, there are so many different routes that we can go through. One, to be like, we waited all summer for this. Last game on the docket. We're watching Ravens-Bills on Sunday night, thinking about how our game's going to be and what if JJ does this or doesn't do that. And there are so many different routes we can go to say, man, what we saw in camp, it showed up when we needed it.
Yeah, it was outstanding, man. It was everything they've kind of worked on. Now, you mentioned something, but they're now 5.5-point favorites against the Falcons on Sunday.
Well, I saw something. I haven't confirmed it. It was I'm just doom scrolling on X yesterday.
Well, yeah.
And somebody randomly posted, and it looked like someone, not a troll account, not an Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
It was an actual, it looked like a reporter from Atlanta that said Drake London might not play on Sunday night. And I don't know if you watch Penix, and we're jumping forward. Still so much fun with what we saw last night. So a lot of time to build up into the Falcons game, another primetime game for the kid QB here in Minnesota. Penix looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, he did look
good. But
good,
Drake London's kind of his, as PA would say, his nookie blankie of sorts.
Yeah.
And Bijan with the 10 catches out of the backfield for 100 yards.
What a monster he is.
So, and that's this defense as much as they perform specifically against Swift. Early on, I mean, Caleb had all the rushing yards he wanted. Yeah. Partly because our pass rush was good, but partly also we were a little undisciplined in some lanes. But watch out for Drake London. Watch out for that injury status because that line jumped 3 points in like 12 hours.
Yeah.
And so an opportunity now in prime time to see versus another kid from his class, by the way.
How about that?
Another kid from his class.
That's a good quarterback class, man.
It's not bad.
They're all good. So far, they're all good.
Well, and it's so tough, and it's a great social experiment in terms of how much it matters the team that you're drafted to. And sometimes bad is bad, right? I mean, I don't know what Cam Ward would have needed or could have had to make his performance any better. But it is an awful team. But, Drake needs more from somebody
also
there
a bad team.
In New England. Caleb, with all the talent, as soon as we actually just said, hey, Caleb, we're going to actually just make you be a quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, he steps out of bounds.
He's a clomper.
That wide open touchdown pass he had he Uncle Rico'd that.
But I think Bo Nix is a player in Denver, but he also lands with a guy that kind of knows what he's doing. As annoying as he is, Peyton knows what he's doing in Denver.
For sure.
Penix is handling business out there, and I forget who their OC is. Maybe it's Zach Robinson. That name pops in my head. But Penix has looked like a guy, and now our guy.
Yeah, it's going to be
after
fun,
his debut.
Can't wait.
No, looking forward to it. Thanks for hanging out with me, my brother. I needed to share and soak in some excitement that you have bouncing off the walls. I saw you out there. You're just drinking coffee straight from the pot.
Yeah, I can't help it. I'm pumped.
You got to calm down a bit, but maybe not so much as we celebrate on a Tuesday. That's Meatsauce, Paul Lambert, and that's how we're going to kick off 9 to noon today. TimberTech set list, as I mentioned, PA is going to be joining and really taking the reins here around 10 o'clock. And then, of course, Kevin O'Connell at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. He's going to be in the mix at 11. So he's nice enough, especially the morning after a game, to be able to do this with us. And X's and O's with head coach Kevin O'Connell. That's kind of how we tie it into some Vikings evening programming here on your home for Vikings football, The Fan. Looking forward to hearing the recap of the coach, how he sees it through his eyes, from a 3-quarter game to fourth quarter, gotta have it moments. And the QB absolutely came through. But in the meantime, also looking for talkbacks. I mentioned it with Saucy. From a game ball perspective, if you're the coach, I mentioned, J.J. McCarthy and what he was able to do. And you look at him, that's certainly an A topic in this game. But how about Javon Hargrave when you absolutely had to have it and you started figuring out to get that interior rush working, a sack or two for him. He changed the game last night, Javon Hargrave did. Reichard from 59, career high for him. I think he tied the record at Soldier Field. How about that seam line turf, man? What an amateur operation with the field turf situation at Soldier Field last night. But whether it's Jordan Mason, welcome to the covenant, Jordan Mason. Aaron Jones with that beautiful touchdown on the wheel route outside. Perfect pass from the QB, by the way. Just who would you give game balls to? What's on your mind as it is with the Minnesota Vikings a morning after what we saw at Soldier Field last night? So that's going to be kind of how we roll through things. Some Vikes bites. Again, I have some interviews that Ben Lieber did with a few players from last night. If you missed it, we will play those short little vignettes throughout the first hour. But just as we open up 9 to noon, just celebrating a victory on a Tuesday morning. Vikings 27-24 over the Bears. 6 consecutive W's over them Bears at Soldier Field in Chicago. I'm Nordo, in for PA, at least for the moment. Brett Blakemore produces. Tried to keep him quiet because you know which team he likes, and we just don't need his opinion right now. But we will chat with him, of course, over the next 40 minutes or so as we await the arrival of the Vox. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's 9 to noon on The Fan.
teacher who made a difference, believed in us, challenged us, or just made learning fun? Well, now's your chance to say thank you in a big way with iHeartRadio's Thank a Teacher. It's powered by Donors Choose. Nominate an outstanding public school teacher who's gone above and beyond for their students to win $5,000 to stock their classroom with whatever they need. Today's teacher is Caitlin Wooleen, who teaches at Holly Elementary School and who folks told us works hard to create a classroom where every student feels seen, supported, and challenged to grow. Help us thank the educators shaping our future. Nominate your favorite teacher, iHeartRadio.com/teachers.
Thank you, teachers. Thank you for hanging out with us 9 to noon. That's Brett Blakemore, and I'm sure he'll appreciate this talk back via the free iHeartRadio app.
As a Packer fan, J.J. McCarthy started throwing touchdowns after he threw his first NFL touchdown to the Bears.
That's unbelievable.
No! You know what's funny is I was looking through them, and I was like, I wouldn't play that one.
It's all good. It's all jokes for me. There might be a Viking fan or two that that particular talkback may draw their ire. I'll say this. I guess technically he's responsible for 4 TDs last night. He's responsible for 4 touchdowns, 4 total TDs for the QB. Put that on the stat line. 3 through the air, 1 going the wrong direction, and then the read option. How about the read option? And him muscling his way in there, following the lead block. I mean, he even did kind of a little cocky stutter step, just waiting to see how TJ Hawkinson would handle the blocking end of things, and he found his way in there. The pick 6 was awful. Putting all of it in the context of his debut, it is truly 3 quarters of what, and then 1 quarter of brilliance. And so now we also have to ask, in the context of debuts, on the road on a Monday night at Soldier Field, your defense is keeping you in this game, team game, as cliche as that could possibly be. The fact is after, and I talked about this earlier, the way that Ben Johnson, leading into his debut, I was wondering if that was at all similar to Kevin O'Connell. And I mentioned it yesterday, is you got members of the Vikings kind of playing scout team style for ultimately the debut border battle in 2022. And you had a guy in a green Kenny Clark jersey. You had a guy wearing Jair Alexander, Quay Walker, etc. And they must have put a month just off to the side while still building things together in camp. They had to have put a month into how they were going to handle Kevin O'Connell's first game as head coach. This is my first opportunity to lead an NFL franchise. I'm going to get off on the right foot. And I had to imagine that there was something similar happening off to the side while he's trying, Ben Johnson, to, quote, tear Caleb Williams down to the studs and build him from the ground up from scratch, that he wanted to put his squad off on the right foot as well. You saw it on that opening drive, man. Caleb Williams, 6 of 6, like 50-some yards, gets the rushing TD there. It's like, whoa. And that's following the Vikings 3 and out. And then, of course, I mean, it's bad for business. You follow up that drive with a 3 and out, and now you're sweating it a bit. And it was the grind and the slog of the first half. We saw it. But after those 2 consecutive third downs, I got this zone coverage. It's a John Bonus production, one of like 100 things he does from a web standpoint. But zone coverage, covering Minnesota sports, they do a great job. But they do this bit called Nordo's Numbers. And they pulled one, and kind of following it loosely, zone coverage put this together for me. And it's, after the 2 third downs they converted on that opening drive, defense stands tall, and the Bears were 1 of 10 for the remainder of the game. Don't look in the team stats, by the way. Vikings 3 of 12, Bears 3 of 12 on third down. Third down's not nice to anybody last night. And there was also a stat associated with that, speaking of, tough times, good times, bad times, but the bad times specifically for the Vikings. The Vikings, their first 7 third downs, they were 0 of 7, and the average distance was 9.9. I mean, how Mahomes and all of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL are going to have trouble converting consistent 3rd and 10s all freaking night. Not able to run the ball, not able to find themselves in 3rd and shorts. You had a little clompability, a couple of sacks in the mix, a couple bad penalties, and they put you in compromising positions that effectively just ruin the drive. And I mentioned Justin School, the disastrous half that he had from a blocking standpoint. I believe there was a penalty in the mix as well, turned like a 2nd and 5 into a 1st and 20 to begin a drive. Those are the types of things that put your rookie, effective rookie QB, J.J. McCarthy, in awful position. So, yes, his first touchdown did go to the other team. Let's see. Oh, I like this. This is a good one here.
Morning, Nordo. It's Jared from St. Paul. I just wanted to give some flowers to Miles Price in that return game. How many times did he set up the Vikings offense with a short field? Nice to see a good returner on the team again.
Yeah, how about Miles Price? Price is right. Price is nice, however you want to put it. At one point, I was talking with Ron Johnson last night during Fan Line, and just at one point through camp, it's like, can Silas Bolden return kicks? Can Lucky Jackson return kicks? At one point, I would kind of settled in on Lucky Jackson. Problem for Lucky, sadly, is he had myriad opportunities to grab a spot from a wide receiving standpoint, couldn't do it. Miles Price, I think he was wearing like 31 in camp. Just looked weird. Like a receiver wearing a running back's number, former Hoosier. And you'll hear the proud Hoosier, I believe, chat with PA during his drive-by interviews that he recorded after the game last night. But Miles Price was just like, okay, I see him out there. He's not dropping it. But we got Ty Felton. We got to find something for the rookie Terrapin to do. Ty Felton, can he do it? Never takes advantage of it. And on his 4 punt returns last night, I really should be better prepared to have the box score in front of me. But he averaged, it was 17 or 18 yards, a return last night. And yeah, four returns. He had a long at 22. It was 17 per. And you felt comfortable with him just securing the catch. No worries on that. And then just how aggressive he was, shifty, and he kind of found his way through it. And, if you put $1,000 on the line, you said, Nordo, catch, just catch 1 of 10 out of the jugs machine. Okay, good luck. But so the sneaky difficulty of it combined with having a plan and being ready to go, Miles Price deserves a ton of credit for the unknown. And even when the Vikings, we were hearing reports, they were going to go out. Hey, they might be scouring that free agent wide receiver market a bit. They might be trying to make a deal. We know that culminates with Adam Thielen coming back, which was cool. And Adam Thielen just smooth inside the 5, getting the 2-point conversion that the Vikings needed. But I was always thinking, like, okay, Brandon Powell, I assume they're going to go out and find somebody that can just be competent and just be somewhat reliable back there. And Miles Price, man, you see his personality, you see him in a couple interviews, like you just kind of love Miles Price. And you relied on him last night, and he changed the game. You felt that specifically in the second half with some of his punt returns. In early, when it's like a 10-6 at the half type of game, field position means freaking everything. And the Bears were on the right side of that for a fair amount of the first half. Tough night by the punter, to be honest with you, as in our punter. But that's maybe for a different time and different conversation. But in the second half, Price put us in good spots, put us on shorter fields, and got us into a spot to be successful. To the talkback machine, fire these things off. It's super easy. If you're listening on the iHeartRadio app, you can, of course, just hit that microphone, give us up to your best 30 seconds. I will try to screen them while simultaneously talking on the radio, and we will play them. How about this one?
Hi, this is Buffalo Bill calling just to say I was super impressed by Will Reichard. He was an incredible asset last night. Clutch kicking all throughout the game. Very well done. He gets a gold star in my book. Skull Vikings.
All right.
So now this is going to be a 59-yard try, left hash by Will Reichert with 11 seconds to go in the first half. The Vikings have no timeouts. Will's career long is 58. Snap spot. Reichert with a line drive bomb. Yes! Wow. It's good. That's a career long for Will Reichert.
Yeah, how about that? And he just crushed that freaking thing. And low trajectory, certainly blockable, but he found its way through. And this is I don't know what the record is in front of me, but I mean this KO thing in close games. And that's, just long winding road of a tangent, if there is one to be had. KO handles close games. And you think about all the points you needed. Cairo Santos misses from 50. We dig that. So that plays into it as well. They have a right to make mistakes and clomp around like that offense did as soon as Caleb Williams was required to be a QB. But the defense, you look at that final score line, and the defense, as good as it was, I think until that final drive had allowed it was like 250 yards, somewhere in that area. JJ gets the rushing TD. If there are negatives to be had defensively in the game, there are some points here. Without Harrison Smith last night, was it open all night in the middle? At times it felt like that again for the Bears offense. But just unacceptable moments where if you don't have that 59-yard field goal and all variables, ripple effect, we know this is impossible as a hypothetical, but all things being the same, moments like that 59-yard field goal after the nice throw from J.J. McCarthy to Jalen Naylor to set up that opportunity, you're looking at a spot where after J.J. McCarthy's rushing touchdown, suddenly Cole Kmet with the sweet one-hander for like 35 yards, and they're in field goal territory, and then you get the 2 illegal contact penalties. One of them was a little iffy, I think, on Byron Murphy. You have Ivan Pace Jr., frankly, there wasn't a lot that he could do. I don't know what the rush rules are on. Do you want him jumping and getting reckless like that as Caleb is starting to wind up and release, but he goes helmet to helmet. So you have the roughing the passer. And then I think it was Odunze that scored the touchdown there. The things that happen earlier in the game that set you up for those one-score games, you got to you pick your way through the ashes and find those little moments. That Reichard 59-yard field goal, as unsatiating maybe as it was at the time, I need to see life from the QB. What the heck's going on with number 9? Or have we been sold down a river with this thing? Is this a whole ruse here? Is the head coach really a QB guru? He got a game and a half out of Dobbs. So what? But those moments, and specifically with Reichard, mattered in the context of a defense that had absolutely shut down the Bears as long as they did after that opening drive. But then late stages of the game, in desperation, you find that seam with Kmet. And again, bang, 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 circumstances galore. Odunze's in there, and then now we're making it sweat a little bit as it became 27-24. So the moments matter, specifically on special teams. We love Miles Price right now. If he drops one last night, we have a completely different idea and a completely different perception of Miles Price, right? Special teams means nothing until it means absolutely freaking everything in the moments in these close games. It's just the record's starting to become gaudy and daunting and ridiculously good in our favor after of these one-score games through the Kevin O'Connell tenure. Will Reichard last night, 2 for 2. It was a shorty, 30, 31 yards, and then the long one. We dig that. His personal best, and then also I believe he tied the best in the history of Soldier Field from a field goal standpoint. So it certainly mattered. I got a lot more talkbacks that I want to get to and text messages as well. In my back pocket, I do have some interview audio. Lieber down in the locker room had a postgame actually on the field with Adam Thielen. I want to try and find my way to shoehorn a few of those bits in there, but I do want to continue hearing from you and your thoughts on this following the victory last night. Still trying to parse out, again, good times, bad times, trying to figure out how to weigh all that together. In the end, Vikings are 1-0, and the fourth quarter by J.J. McCarthy. I saw something yesterday. I think it's him and Steve Young, like the only 2 QBs in the last half century to overcome a 10-point deficit in their careers. 2 through the air, 1 on the ground. Some beautiful work in the fourth from J.J. McCarthy. Let's continue this conversation around the corner. It's 9 to noon.
Want a chance to win a Vikings away game trip for 4? Well, this could be your year. All you got to do is visit the Minnesota Lottery booth at the Vikings kickoff concert Sunday, September 14th, before Russell Dickerson takes the stage to enter. Minnesota Lottery must be 18 or older to play.
Text line 64686, lawyer Tom, kind of confirming what we were chatting about last segment. KO is 26-9 in one-score games. He puts that second best in the history of NFL. I'm just going to trust that lawyer Tom's my stats and info person for the duration of 9 to noon. So the 26-9 again in one-score games. You don't want to live by this, the hairs on your chin every single week. What you saw last night until again, the defense, as good as they had been. I mean, this Cole Kmet thing up the seam wide open, it just can't happen. So even in a victory, I imagine the defense only allowing 17 points last night, that Flores is going to have a conversation with his group. And so 26-9 in the one-score games. Another text message, how fun is it to have a young, cool, and confident QB? Watching JJ celebrate after the 2-point conversion felt like a peek into the next decade or so of Vikings football. What a dog. And then Brandt, again, you can fire these off. 64686, the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Brandt, I hate the QB helmet-to-helmet rule being so literal. Ivan Pace, didn't even try tackling Williams. Their helmets lightly tapped each other. There needs to be an evaluation. I understand it for safety, but there was nothing unsafe about that play. If I'm the QB, I'd rather have that than a shot to the ribs. Not that I necessarily disagree, but it's never going to go backwards, Brandt. And this is just a simple evolution of we can evaluate replays down to the blade of grass, frame by frame by frame. It's never going to go backwards, I don't think. So it's not something I'm going to complain about. Again, I would never want to change how Ivan Pace approached that play. So I somewhat agree with you. There is the safety element of it. I loved what he did on that play. Would have liked there to live in a universe where there's not a flag, but it was helmet to helmet. And on the other side of the equation, I absolutely would have taken that penalty if roles were reversed. Somebody did that to my guy. That's my QB. That's my quarterback. Keep your helmet off of his. 15 yards. Keep that chain. Keep that drive moving. I guess I suppose that's the hypocrisy of what's good for me versus what's good for maybe the game in general. But I'm totally with you on that, Brandt. And thanks for all the talkbacks on a Tuesday morning as well. I love hearing from Vikings fans specifically celebrating. I mean, the good, bad, and ugly of it's always relevant, always good 9 to noon. Love these talkbacks on the free iHeartRadio app, though. Let's listen to this.
Good morning, guys. I fell victim to the McCarthy panic, but I took a deep breath.
Me too.
His first game, Soldier Field, Monday night, primetime. That's a tough one, and the league did not do him any favors having another primetime next week, but glad how he responded. I want to highlight the special teams, flipping the momentum of this game with Reichert field goal, Eric Wilson block punt, Eric Wilson with a massive hit, and that Price kid just kept getting yards every time he got the ball.
Okay. Eric Wilson. So this is something to watch, and I don't know how much on the forefront that the head coach is going to be when he joins PA at 11. Quick reminder, by the way, PA will be joining us and kind of taking over from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. And then he's going to have Kevin O'Connell on at 11 o'clock, and we'll chat with him. The injury to Blake Cashman. Now, who am I to speak to whether it's a soft tissue injury, the hammy, et cetera? They really quickly ruled Blake Cashman out. He was chasing, I believe it was Caleb, to the boundary, kind of pulled up, and he didn't start rolling on the ground, writhing in pain, but clearly uncomfortable. And then he went over by the blue tent, watching the TV broadcast while listening to the fan. You kind of saw a conversation he was having with one of the trainers. He did not look happy. He was not in a particularly good mood. Again, quickly ruled out Blake Cashman. And so that's going to bear a following over the next couple of days. Head coach in his presser last night really didn't have anything to say other than that, he had an issue with the hammy, and I believe an MRI is on the horizon. So let's say he's out of the mix. Now, Eric Wilson has to step in. Eric Wilson, of course, a familiar name to you Vikings fans. You follow this stuff, of course, closely. And certainly Brett Blakemore, you're familiar with Eric Wilson. And Eric Wilson, I can't remember if he was, was he undrafted, potentially? Cincinnati, originally. And he spends 4 years here, moves on, had a cup of coffee in 2021 with Philly and Houston. And then he found three solid productive seasons, by the way, with the Green Bay Packers. And even, as a green and gold covenant member, Brett, I'm not saying that Eric Wilson was the mainstay defensive juggernaut of your team, but you guys have had injury issues in the linebacker front almost year after year after year. You feel this vibe. Eric Wilson steps in and makes plays. He's not a guy that's going to start 17 games, and there are reasons for that. But Eric Wilson stepped in and made plays for the Pack, did he not?
Yeah, he gets the green and gold covenant seal of approval for me. I really liked the way that he played, and he was a good depth linebacker piece when we needed it. So I like him.
And the A topic to finding your way, it's again, undrafted cats. Like, we're all enamored with Max Brosmer making the 53 as an undrafted QB. And still, may just be the 1 year he had in the Big Ten. It's kind of tragic and ridiculous that he wasn't drafted. But anyway, we were enamored with the idea of undrafted guys making the team. Ivan Pace, a good example. One way to make the team when you're in the undrafted kid is via special teams. That's the meat and potatoes of Eric Wilson's career and why he's been able to sustain now. I believe this is his 10th season in the NFL. And so, excuse me. So that's why he is here. He is here, as Brett mentioned, a depth piece. And it is in case of injury, but the A topic for him is going to be participating in all the special teams. And he's very, very good at it. In fact, during camp, after practices, you would see Eric Wilson on the sideline with rookie Kobe King. Now, Kobe King, he has dreams of being a starting linebacker in the NFL and making tons of plays. And you hope those dreams are realized as a Vikings fan, because we drafted him. He's our kid. And we need these draft picks to work out. But the A topic for Kobe King at this stage would be special teams. And so after practice, you're seeing Eric Wilson with Kobe King. Kind of here's what you do on this. Here's how you beat this block. And it was just it was fun to watch that. So Eric Wilson's back, and then Cashman's hammy goes out. Now suddenly Eric Wilson is playing like prime freaking Greenway, stuffing the A gap. He's out in coverage. He blocks a freaking punt. So in the frame of, I guess the term is giving people flowers. I mentioned it earlier, giving people game balls. The J.J. McCarthy conversation is going to dominate the entire landscape of this thing. Certainly, QB, and it probably should. Jordan Mason should dominate part of this conversation as well, because of when that run game came alive, when Justin School finally figured out what the heck he was doing on the field at some point during the third quarter. And this line not only started protecting J.J. McCarthy, but started moving forward. How about that 19-yard run on one of those Viking scoring drives last night by Jordan Mason? Just the pop, the physicality, the vision, something we always dreamed of getting out of Alexander Madison, and we never got the vision we were getting out of Jordan Mason. Lion's share of the carries last night, 15, I think, and 4.5 a clip. So this is not AP, one cut out the gates and it's 80 yards, but in the same, for a team begging for efficient running, Jordan Mason was all that and more last night. So giving people their flowers, giving them their game balls. Eric Wilson deserves a ton of praise for what he was able to do with that defense when he absolutely had to last night. Another tremendous pickup by the Minnesota Vikings. One more talk back here, and then we'll pause and enter the 10 a.m. hour.
Hey, Nordo, super impressed by the front seven, although the secondary left a little to be desired. I didn't know what your feelings were in secondary. I know Caleb missed a couple throws, but if those were completed, totally different ball game. So what's your view of the secondary? I know we're without Harry. We'll welcome him back with open arms. But what was your overall grade of the secondary last night?
Man, that's a good question, and something that I broached this topic with Ron during Fan Line. So I'm glad you started with the front seven, because I was overall exceptionally impressed right out of the gates. The Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave tandem in the middle, it's different, ladies and gentlemen. It's different, and it works. And so it was awesome to see that. I wonder, there are multiple aspects to this conversation. Again, look out, as if you're new to this 9 to noon. There might be a rambling tangent in the mix here. So multiple thoughts come into my weird neurotic head as it pertains to the front seven, the defense, and then I'll get to the secondary. Is the preseason reps that these guys in particular, whether it's Van Ginkel, it's Grenard, the reps they didn't get. I wonder, focused on, man, it would have been great if J.J. McCarthy got a few more drives in the preseason. What if, man, it would have been great if this defensive front played together in a couple of more preseason opportunities or series or maybe a half, et cetera. I mean, you saw, I think Patrick Mahomes was playing for a quarter in like a third preseason game. Now, that didn't work out. for the Chiefs. I get that. But I'm just curious, is there any rust associated with that? Because early on, and if you listen back to the broadcast or were listening last night, I appreciate that Pete Bursich was bringing this up multiple times. The lack of discipline and without playing the game, without being a schematic genius, kind of the idea of when you're sending Cashman on a blitz. So prior to the injury, he gets home right up the middle, right up the gut. But Caleb gets loose. He's able to shimmy, an athletic kid. And the problem is you saw moments where our outside rushers, Dallas Turner, it was nice to see him on the field. He didn't blow up. I mean, he didn't just explode off the map. Certainly getting more opportunities. What does that mean in terms of, is he ready to rock? Is he a budding star? Is it he's arrived? I have no idea through one game. But you saw him in some moments. Flores still moving him around to different spots, kind of like he did his rookie season. But you saw not just Turner, but Grenard on a couple of occasions where they would get too high up the field and suddenly, I mean, it's like 35W. It's Sunday morning at 5 a.m. I mean, Caleb had all the freaking space he wanted to do whatever he needed with his legs. And so kind of the question of, is there a little bit of rust? Because it got dialed in over the course of the game. That's where I'm going with this. Again, long winding tangent. That was early, but then later you saw, do you want to call it discipline from a pass rushing standpoint, where if you know Cashman's coming or Ivan Pace is going to be running up that gut, then maybe you have to change, and there's a contain element to what you're doing from a pass rush perspective. I wonder if there's rust in that mix. But in the end, I totally agree with you on the front seven that by the end of the game, in totality, you're starting to see something. You're starting to see what this thing looks like. You're starting to see that Flores put a unit together with this front seven. Now, leading into the secondary, I didn't see any issues with Rodgers last night. He didn't jump off the page. Isaiah Rodgers in his debut, somebody I was excited and looking forward to seeing. I didn't see him jump off the map to me, good or bad. I thought that Byron Murphy, he came up on an outside rush, and it's sad that they got the first down. They converted it. But nice open field effort and physical effort from Byron Murphy. Okudah, I don't want to say I'm not, and let's see how this concussion thing, by the way. First and foremost, you hope he's healthy. You don't want to see people's marbles getting bounced around too much. So hopefully that's all good on the concussion front. He didn't necessarily impress me. I thought he was slow in a couple of spots. The big thing for me, how much not having Harrison Smith last night mattered in terms of just organizing. I mean, you picture the situation and the nuances of Brian Flores' defense. And you got a guy out there that's borderline and maybe home cooking, absolutely should be a Hall of Fame consideration someday, Harrison Smith. He gets to be out there and kind of organize things. And Metellus knows what he's doing. I get that. But you replace basically Harrison Smith and his ability to point some guys around and make sure everything's organized. Potentially from a Caleb Williams open rush lane standpoint, you got 2-2 in the mix. Maybe he's filling some of those gaps over the course of a game. You exchange him for maybe more snaps from Theo Jackson. Big opportunity for him. Looking forward to it. But then Jay Ward? I mean, Jay Ward at some point couldn't even stay on side during freaking field goal coverage. And now we're asking him and Theo Jackson's combined reps to really replace, try to, best they can, the work of Harrison Smith. So was there discombobulation in the back without Hitman? So my limp in answer, my lukewarm answer in the end of the tangent is that the jury's out for me until I just kind of think through it for more. And frankly, until I get the opportunity to ask the more informed how much missing Harrison Smith maybe led to a couple of those bad situations. We've been begging for this to be figured out. And when this defense is at its best, it's unbelievable. But it has been over the last few years. It's kind of open all night sometimes. And Ben Johnson, he pulls these strings so well, and he might just not have what he needs to do in Chicago, what he did in Detroit. But whether it's DJ Moore over the middle, I keep mentioning, I mean, are you kidding me with Cole Kmet? I'm still kind of frustrated by it, albeit in a victory. But some of those moments, and you just kind of shake your, what are we doing out there? What is happening? How does this occur in a big spot like that? The jury's still out for me. I just want to hear I just want to kind of think through it and decide just how important it was or how vital it was to have Hitman there, or in this case, due to this health issue that it's minor, but it's kind of lingering, and just, working our way through the ambiguity there. How much Harrison Smith not being there meant to the whole operation. So the front seven, I'm wondering if more reps in the preseason would have helped them specifically early, but they locked it down. Eric Wilson in for Cashman, game changer, needed him, and he brought it. Secondary for me without Harrison Smith, a little bit of a question mark. You leave last night's game, though, still kind of thinking, depth. Depth is maybe still on your mind the morning after. But I need to see 2-2 in that mix and get a better idea of what's going on. So thank you for the talkbacks, and we'll continue to mix those in. But again, tangent over, clock management, awful. And we're going to return and kick off the 10 a.m. hour next. It's Nordo in for PA for now, 9 to noon on the Fan.